I got a story time for you guys. Now, usually when I start off story time, I usually tell you I make the stories up and tell you guys because my kids heard them all. Believe it or not, the story I'm going to tell you is one my kids heard a couple times and they enjoyed it. We're going to talk about great people, okay? There was a man I knew for many years, said he's not with us today, but this man was my Uncle Fred. The smartest man I ever met in my entire life. This man was just remarkable, and I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about him. And I'm going to tell you what brought this video, basically, to mind today. Like I said, it's story time, and I decided, well, let's do one of Uncle Fred. You know, I tell other stories, and what brought it to mind was over in the park, and I don't know what the conversation, I was doing my walking thing, and you have to overlook the wind today, it's bad, and my son Justin was talking about something, and he brought up my Uncle Fred, and I was like, let me do a video. Many years back, I had the opportunity to live with my Uncle Fred and my cousin Charlie. And so for a whole summer, I lived with my Uncle Fred and my cousin Charlie. I was going through some rough times in my life, and my dad made the suggestion, you know, I should live with my Uncle Fred for a while. He straightened me out. So that whole summer, my Uncle Fred gave me some of his wisdom, some of his logic. And he did the same. Sorry, I just now noticed all my plastic is ripped down now. Dang it! Okay, sorry guys, I just jumped off. But he did the same for my cousin too, you know. Now my father, which is my Uncle Fred's brother, was a smart man too, but not as smart as my Uncle Fred. Sorry, Dad, sorry. He'll probably agree with me. But I want to tell you a story one time that happened to us, and let's get started. Like I said, my Uncle Fred used to give me some of his wisdom, okay? He used to tutor me and stuff. He taught me how to think about things, how to study, how to look at things, and my Uncle Fred was not like your any ever man. You know, to look at my Uncle Fred, let me explain my Uncle Fred. First of all, he wore overalls, okay? Yeah. Number two, his hair was never combed. 3, he never wore shoes. No. And him and I will go for walks, and he will walk down the street like this, and people usually laughed at him or made jokes behind his back. Didn't faze him none. Lord, no. So one day, my cousin Charlie was at work. I was off work that day, and Uncle Fred and I went to walk to the grocery store. So we passed a bunch of kids, I guess, well, a bunch of guys my age at the time, kids to him, and they made some rude comments. So my Uncle Fred stopped for a minute, and he says, "Boys, let's have ourselves a little talk." I don't want to tell you the names they was calling my Uncle Fred because it's mean. It's just flat out mean. Now let me tell you something about my Uncle Fred real quick. He had a gift. He had a photographic memory, okay? Oh my gosh, this man was so smart. Photographic memory. The smartest man I've ever met in my life. So we're basically, you know, he's sat down, and I can't remember the story he started telling these kids, but when Uncle Fred would tell stories, he immediately would get your attention. Wham! You would forget about everything around you except his voice. He had a way with his words, his wisdom that could reach right inside your soul and tap on it. Tip, 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 tip. And you just can feel the presence of his knowledge all over you. Well, he told a story to these kids, and one of them wised off and says, "You're just an ignorant," I don't want to say the word, and Uncle Fred's like, "Really?" And he's seen a book one of the guys was carrying. He says, "What's that book right there?" I don't remember the name of the book, and my Uncle Fred said he never seen it before, never read that type of book. See, Uncle Fred was a book reader too. He says, "I'll tell you what, if you could pick out any chapter in that book and let me read it, I'm going to show you something." The guy and I guess his girlfriend picked out a chapter. I'm going to sit down for a little bit, guys. My back's been hurting the last couple of days. It was hurting on today's walk too. he picked out a chapter, him and his girlfriend did, and Uncle Fred looked at it, and it took him about maybe 30 seconds to read it. I think he also was a speed reader. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. He handed it back to him. He says, okay, you got the chapter? Okay. He started mentioning the words, and the girl's like, ha ha, you didn't even start and you got it all wrong. He says, no, I'm going to tell it to you in reverse. Read every freaking word in reverse to him from that chapter. Well, maybe a big paragraph or something. Every word in reverse. Well, guess what? They didn't make fun of Uncle Fred after that. As a matter of fact, we walked over to the park. Now, over the park where my cousin Charlie and I used to go over there and run all the time. Uncle Fred thought it was good for us to get out there and get our energy out. You know, sometimes Charlie and I will get a little batting heads and we just get a little aggravated. He's like, go run it out, boys. So we walked over there, and the guys followed us. You know, instantly fell in love with Uncle Fred. Did I mention he was also a poet too? Yeah, he used to write poetry. Man, I miss that man. You know, we meet great people in our life, folks. And he was one of my greats. He's no longer with us. He's been gone for many years now. I'm thinking 25 years, and I miss him. I do. I used to tell my cousin Charlie how lucky he was because he had a father like that, and Charlie used to tell me, well, you're lucky because you had a father like yours. Both the men were great. They were. My father was great too. Just maybe I didn't see the greatness in my dad as much as I did my Uncle Fred. I don't know. Uncle Fred treated me right. You know, he used to come down and pick me up. So I used to live with my mom when I was growing up, and he used to drive all the way from the hills of Kentucky, come down and pick me up and take me home in Kentucky so I could see Charlie, my cousin Lisa, my Aunt Jimmy, and he would just take me out there and just like, you know, be a boy. You know, all these hills to play with and just be a boy. And also my cousin Eddie, you know. And he used to basically get me out of my ruts even when I was a kid. Living with mom back in them days wasn't easy for me, guys, because mom was very sickly and I didn't really have too much of a childhood because I was taking care of mom. But yeah, I used to go out there and spend a couple weeks, and yeah, I miss that, man. So every so often something would remind me of Uncle Fred, and something reminded my son Justin Uncle Fred, even though he never met him, but he's heard stories. Every so often I would bring his name up and talk about him. Quite a man, smartest man I ever met in my life. Like I said, he taught me how to use my mind, taught me how to use my memory, taught me how to look at things from a different standpoint. If he was around today, he could help me out with my anxiety like you would not believe. He could. Man, was he so brilliant. The last words Uncle Fred spoke to me before he passed on was, be good to your father. Remember everything I taught you. Well, I hope I done him right. I hope I did. Guys, it's a small video today. I do have another story time coming up I want to tell, but it's got to be done at the park. This one's going to be a good one too, and I couldn't do it today. I was wanting to do that one today, but I got to do this when there's nobody at the park, and I got to do it before the pool opens. So yeah, Stormy, you going to give me fits, or you going to come up? When she gets out here, she never wants to go up. I walked that dog 5 miles. You think she'd be ready to come up, but no, not my doggy. All right, guys, let me get her up, and we'll close it up on the deck. Every so often, if we're lucky enough, God puts one of his greats in our path to meet them. And if we're lucky enough, we actually listen to what they're saying to us. My Uncle Fred was one of his greats. And I'm a better man today that I known him. Although the knowledge he taught me back then sunk in, but most of it's sinking in now that I'm an adult. Strange as that might sound, the words and the things he taught me sink in more today that I'm an adult than what it did when I was a younger man. So, guys, that's it. That's story time. Oh, man. Tomorrow I'm going to finish my grass. Today I want to do the walk instead. I want to let it dry up back there a little bit more. And yeah. So, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Leave me comments. Let me know who your greats are. Did you ever have an Uncle Fred in your life like I did? And if you did, tell me about him. So until next time, if you can hear me with this darn wind, come on, let's get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow.